something that can be fixed, and hopefully we'll be back in that building in about 3 or 4 weeks. That's the estimate that they're giving us right now. The theater building, and I have a couple of pictures to show you on that, but there was quite a bit of damage to the theater building, and so we're not going to be able to use that for a while. Now, what that will entail as far as going and repairing that, we don't know that yet. What we've asked them to do is we're trying to prioritize. You know, the first thing we wanted them to check was the 100 and 200 wing. So they did that. Of course, they were very surprised at the size of our campus. So he's coming back on Tuesday and bringing a team with him. And the next thing that they'll look at is the cafeteria. So the buildings we're waiting for clearance is the cafeteria. We also need for them to look at the auditorium and then the ROTC and technology building.
Who is the engineer?
It is, his name is Justin, I can't remember the last name, and he's been retained by the insurance company. He's a forensic.
Gregory.
No, that's changed. It's he's a forensic engineer, and that's pretty much all their firm does, is stuff like this.
Yeah.
Yes. Very thorough.
Yes.
And so, and he's erring on the side of caution, just because it was a very brief look.
Yeah.
And he really wants to get in and be able to look closely at connections and stuff like that before he can make a total determination.
Was the theater building ever touched? Is that the older one?
The theater building is like the old administration building right by the auditorium. And yes, that one they have said we do not need to have a team that right now. But we don't know, we didn't ask them to look at that in so much more detail after we just made that initial, because we didn't get many kids in that building anyway.
Okay.
In the big picture, it's not going to help us immediately.
Yes.
All right, so that was just a quick overview. So plan moving forward, I did want to reiterate that we do have police presence around the clock right now to make sure that there's no looting. Tomorrow, the goal is to clear out the 800 wing so that the teachers can begin to move back in there on Tuesday, the teachers that will report back to that building. We're going to have the high school staff return on Tuesday. Now, I had sent some information out saying that I thought it would be Wednesday, but it looks like if we, after visiting with Charlie today, we're going to be able to get North cleaned out in time to bring them in a day earlier, which is good. I think it'll be good for them to get back into work and, you know, not worry and just be there and to see what's going on. It's also going to give them a chance to kind of process where they're going to be and how they'll have to change some of their planning and their teaching, and then we'll hopefully have kids come back on Thursday. And that's tentative, and a lot of that will depend on if the what the engineers have to say when they come back on Tuesday. We're going to continue to communicate with parents through Blackboard. The website is up and running again now, so you can also post information there. And I'm going to address the staff when they come back on Tuesday, and I'll email the other principals tonight and let them know if there are a lot of questions or concerns from their staff. I do not mind going and addressing them as well. So I know that they're busy and they have their own planning and things going on, so they may not need that, but if they are wanting that, we're certainly going to be willing to do that for them as well. All right, so we're going to just walk you through a couple of pictures. And unfortunately, they're not in any specific order, so might be jumping around a little bit, but a few are pictures that you've probably seen on TV or Facebook, but there are also a few others that are just examples of the different areas that were damaged. I think I have to go to duplicate screen.
Bueno.
It's a school. Floresville South Elementary does have school tomorrow at 11:30. Please be patient.
Okay, so, this is a good example, and I hope I have, I took another one to show you today, but I'm not sure if I was able to get that one downloaded because I was having trouble here in the office. But, this is what I would say is the back side of the 300 and 400 wing, and it faces 97. And one of the reasons I included this one is because you can see, and what they basically say about this building was the entire structure shifted. So what we thought at first probably happened was, you hear about the section or the pressure from a tornado, and that it hits on this football stadium side, and then the pressure made the wall explode out. But they said what the engineer was saying happened is as the tornado hit, it hit so hard that it actually just moved the entire structure, not just the roof, the entire structure of that building, which really just caused the walls to pop out. It just buckled as the structure moved. And, but I will tell you, I'm excited to say thank you to Mr. Muth and Mr. Orth, and I'm not sure who else had helped. There are so many people that have been so helpful that all of that is gone now. I mean, you could walk across it barefoot. So all of that's been moved. Next one. So you're just looking up at that area, and so this is being up in that area looking down, and you can see that we're looking down at the ag building and the gymnasium, yes. Next.
So we're very lucky that it didn't happen about 2 hours later.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Because it would have been a mass cow
It's a
incident.
miracle, yes. We are just blessed that that did not happen, even an hour later. So this is the picture. There are 3 classrooms that are just demolished, and the teachers lost everything in those classrooms. And this is one of them.
That's the football side of the building.
Right. So that's completely at the other end of the building now, from what I was just showing you. And I believe that that's Miss Shu's classroom. But you can see that, you can just see right through it. And I mean, there's nothing at all salvageable. You couldn't even, it wouldn't be safe to walk in there. I mean, I'm literally at the doorway when I'm taking that. I'm not in it. Can you turn that? Okay, so this is an example of the side of the cafeteria at the top near the roof. And what it looks like happened is, if you're familiar with that area, it's a big closed-in area down at the bottom of the courtyard. And so in my mind, it looks like there were probably trash cans and all kinds of things just swirling around. And so I took a couple of pictures today to show you just how that area is all beat up. And that's one of the reasons we need them to come in and really look at the damage that was in the cafeteria to make sure it's safe to go back into it. This is another one. Can't see it as well in the picture. And then one more. And then that's another example. So it's pretty beat up there at the top. That's an example of it all cleaned up. I took that one today. Thank you, Mr. Mead. Next. So this is an example of, that's, if you're standing at the auditorium looking at the front of the 100 and 200 wing, that's really one of the, this wall is the only place where we saw damage, and it, to my eye, it didn't look like it was a lot of damage at the time. But since then, we've learned that the purlin did crimp. And this is the area that happened in. Now, how far down it's crimped, I mean, they'll have to get in there and really look at that to see.
And it's hard to see, but there's a hole in the brick
Oh,
there
yeah.
where something big flew,
It was
smashed into that building.
There was a piece of pipe about probably 7 or 8 foot long.
Right there,
2 and
like
3
pointers or.
It was a 2 3/8 piece of pipe, and it, if you look at the building,
Oh,
there's a mark on it.
it's right there. There's
You
a
can see the
hole.
mark on it, and there's a hole, like when it hit, the end it hit, but you can see the mark. We found a piece of pipe laying underneath it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was like a 2 and
So if
3/8
you can't
piece
see that hole, you're probably not going to be able to see these, the
I
next
don't know where it
picture.
came from, but.
Can you flip that one? So that is the theater arts building. And you really can't see it from this picture either, I apologize, but thank you, that's better. A lot of this brickwork right here on the front fell and is on the ground. And then I think the next picture, I hope is the next picture. Yeah, can you turn that one? You can actually see right here where it's separated. You see that wall? So it just like it popped it out, and then you've got a lot of brick there. But this is another building that they're not wanting us to go into right now. And when you walk in, there are some ceiling tiles that are down. And then this is the back, so you can see, and that is completely open. It's just amazing how those winds, you know, how it does the damage that it does. So how that happened, who knows? But and then this is kind of the other end of the back side of the administration building, and you can see the where the roof is damaged there as well. Next. Okay, so.
Want to skip past those?
No, I did want to. Yeah. So this is a result of our strategic planning yesterday, and I don't expect you to be able to read that, but I just wanted to, in general, show you what we're working on. And tomorrow morning, we're going to start working on an electronic copy of this. But what it is just an example of how this is the 800 building, which is the old building at the high school. And there were quite a few rooms in that building that we weren't using that we are going to be using. So this is the building that Charlie's guys are going to work on clearing out tomorrow so teachers can report there on Tuesday. Over here is the 900 building, which these are the practice gyms. And then this is the band hall. And what we're going to do is the band will continue to practice here. But for the next couple of weeks, we're going to take this alternate band hall, which is used. It's got a lot of equipment in it that Mr. Kathy's going to come in tomorrow and have, I think he's already talked to band boosters. I see some heads nodding. They're going to come and help us get some of that out of there. And then there's another, this is where the color guard store stuff, so we're going to have some teachers in this area. And then there's another that's not really on here that Mr. Kathy told me about. Another room, when the school was designed, it was meant to be a band computer lab. And so it's got some wiring in it for computers. So hopefully we're going to be able to work that in. But we didn't know about that room yesterday when we were just working on this. And then these are the practice gyms. So what you can see right here is in each practice gym, which are regular size gyms, full basketball court, we're going to bring in partitions. And the partitions will create 8 classrooms in each gym. Now I know that's not crazy. There was a time in education where they have what they call open classrooms. And there's a lot of research to support this. I'm not saying that I think it's best case scenario, but it will work for 2 or 3 weeks so that our kids can get back to school.
Do we have to cover the gym floors?
Yes, we'll cover the gym floors, and they'll start bringing the partitions, we hope, on Tuesday or Wednesday. That will be a determining factor. When we can start getting those in, we will be able to bring kids back. Let's see what else. Up here we have the Tiger's Den, and there's a classroom in the Tiger's Den that we're going to be able to utilize. In the competition gym, at first we thought we were going to have to use the competition gym. But right now, in the current plan, we won't. Now, if they come back and say we can't use the auditorium, we might have to end up using the competition gym, and we have a plan B with Coach Luna and basketball if that happens. But in the gym, we're going to move ISS to one room, and then Coach Pfluger, Terry Pfluger, will teach a class in there. In the auditorium, we have it set up that there'll be 4 classrooms going on. They're all English, but you know, the auditorium split up. So we'll do something to give them a little bit of privacy, but they'll have 4 classrooms there. And what is that one? The tech training lab?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's where Randy
Right now.
Rogers is going to be over there.
Oh, that's right. That's where Raynell's going to go. So, I know it doesn't look pretty, but because we don't have it looking pretty yet, but it will. And then when I meet with teachers on Tuesday morning at high school, we'll give them a copy of that so they can look at that. And that's one of the reasons I like to go ahead and bring them back a day earlier if we can, because as you can imagine, I mean, they're not going to have the Promethean board. that they're used to using. So if I can give them 2 days instead of the one that we've been talking about, it gives them time to process, not just get my stuff in the room, but think about how am I going to adjust my instruction for the next couple of weeks.
And the key to that too, Sherry, is even if when we do get back into 1-200, they might still not have information board. We might not have the technology
That's right.
and the infrastructure to do that, so.
You're right about that.
How do you get the kids to know where to?
Well, Mr. Rosenbaum's going to show that in just a minute. And then,
Follow directions.
yeah, they're going to have to follow directions. Right now, the ag will still report to ag, and hopefully ROTC is going to be able to report to ROTC. For all of the office staff, the counselors, the administration, APs, principals, and the office staff, we're going to get 3 portables, and those portables will go outside of the practice gym band parking area. So we'll have 3 of those brought in, and that's where they'll be housed. And so when parents come to register kids, that's where they'll go. So we'll have to work on some signage and getting that information out. So I don't have that ready for you today, but we're working on that. And then we're hoping to, in the cafeteria area, that they're going to be able to stay below there. Now, if not, we've got some ideas on how we might move some other things around, but we won't know that until we hear from the engineer. So there are still some things that are up in the air. Faculty parking, we're going to ask all the faculty to park at the Tiger's Den, and then the student parking will be at North Campus Gym on the 97 side, and the visitor parking will be right in front of the band hall. So we're going to try and put the portables more in front of the practice gyms, and then the visitor parking will be right there. We talked about the lights are not working on Tiger Lane on 181. So we're going to have to route bus traffic as it both dropping off for South Elementary and even middle school. We're going to have to route them out 97. So that's one of the reasons, Ms. Payne, if you go back and listen to that message, I think the main reason for that message, because we had talked about it in our planning earlier today, was just to let South Elementary parents know that bus traffic would be mixed in with their traffic. We're going to have 3 officers there for the next couple of days, and one at both points where they're crossing traffic, because South Elementary traffic, it comes in, it whips around the band parking lot, and then they enter. So that's the first place where the bus traffic can cross parents. Then, when the parents are leaving, that's the second place. And then we also want an officer on 97. So Chief Villegas is taking care of that. We talked about that about 2 hours ago. And I think that is it for the pictures. So I think before I just open it up to general questions, I'm going to go ahead and because I think what Mr. Atkins and Mr. Rosenbaum has to say might satisfy some of that. So, Mr. Atkins.
As far as the kind of the way the process is going to work, insurance has been on site. Our insurance is with tax, but this exceeds. They have a $750,000 cap, and then they buy reinsurance from a larger insurance company. So actually, Lexington has taken over the claim, and we did have Lance Grigger with Lexington here all day yesterday with us, as well as Gerloff, who is a restoration company, a very large company out of San Antonio. They do this as their primary business. They will be the ones that do emergency repairs, help us get portables set up, any of that type of stuff. They probably will not be the one that do permanent repairs. Their job is to get us up and running as quickly as possible. They will work very closely with the insurance company, making sure things get approved. We will be the financial person in this deal, so we will be cutting the contracts. So part of the meeting tonight is doing an emergency declaration to allow us to sign some emergency contracts with Gerloff and some of these things to get things done quickly. Engineers, like I said, like Bay said, Tuesday will be back. He will concentrate on the cafeteria, make a determination on that building, what repairs need to be done. Hopefully Gerloff will be able to give us an estimate that same day when they will have those done. And that will be a big determination on when the kids come back. And then the auditorium will be the next one. And then we'll just keep going from there. We probably won't know anything on 300 to 400 building for at least 2 months. Because it's going to take that long for him to go in and just examine it, see what it is. Eventually, we will have to engage an architect and contractor to do permanent repairs once they give us a scope of work. And like I said, our insurance will be with us along the way. Frank Prusky was out here Friday morning with us, and he will definitely be on our side. Communication. This had happened 30 years ago when I was in school. All we had to do was go buy pencils and some notebook paper. But everything is driven by technology, and unfortunately, the hub of our technology for that campus, not for the district, but for that campus, is in the middle of the 300 building. And so we have already engaged a contractor to run fiber from central office to technology. We're hoping to have technology back here Tuesday. And then we're going to have to run some small pieces of fiber to connect a couple of the buildings we're using for the practice gyms. Don't have fiber right now. Don't have technology. The portables, we'll have to get some temporary fiber there. And so all of that will be going on. Phones are kind of the same issue because they run through our network. Central office phones tomorrow will actually ring at North, and then they will be transferred back to the technology building where we'll have the district receptions. High school phones won't work, and transportation phones may work if we were able to restore the internet to transportation night, which I think we did, but I didn't know for sure whether we're going to have phones or transportation. So what we've done there is we are actually stationing a transportation person with a radio at every campus. So as they get calls concerning transportation, they can contact via radio, and we can communicate with parents. Other than that, it's just going to be a lot of cleanup. And things will change day to day. We'll be meeting every day, just kind of briefing where we're at, what's changed, and adjust plans as we have.
Okay, as you know, our elementaries and middle school will be back in class tomorrow. And our high school, we're hoping to be back Thursday. But there are some students that will be back in class. They might not be real happy about that. But we have some students that go to the Alamo area academies in San Antonio, for things like aerospace, medical services. We have, I don't remember, like 17 kids or so. We will bus them over there tomorrow. So they're going to meet at the North Campus gym at 6:15 in the morning, and we'll bus them just like we normally do. So they'll have their normal day with the Alamo Academy. Obviously, once they come back, they won't be on campus from there. So they will have their normal Alamo Academy days. For what we were asking our students, if they have an online dual credit course, we're asking them to try to keep up with that if they have internet at home. We don't want them to get behind on that. If they don't have internet at home, we're offering our middle school library for them to go to the library to use the internet facilities there so that they can stay up to date on their online dual credit stuff, the ones that are online. For counseling services, obviously our counselors will be prepared If students have issues, if they're upset, because they get upset throughout the day, we've had lots of offers from surrounding communities for to send counselors over, so we will take advantage of that if we need that. Our high school counselors obviously will be dealing with the issues at the high school, but they can also help at the other campuses if need be. What tends to happen in a situation like this is, I think you guys had a storm the next night, right?
Yes.
Over here?
There's one right.
It was, people probably didn't sleep very well that next night after what had happened on Friday night. Well, what happens is, a storm comes up during the day and kids are in school, that's when they really get anxious. And that's when parents start wanting to check them out of school. So we're gonna be prepared for those times whenever that comes, because the next thunderstorm that comes rolling through during school, we're gonna have a lot of kids crying, a lot of kids that are anxious about what's gonna happen. I say kids, a lot of people in general, because I know we will be as well. Anyway, but we will provide counseling service as needed. We will provide counseling service for our staff if need be. Ben Reed will begin trying to determine which students throughout the district need help, that were part of this, that were affected directly by the tornado. So he will start compiling a list, identifying students, see how we can help them. I know that we've had lots of people offer help. We may reach out to some of those people once we get some students identified, and we know some students that need help that were really directly affected by the tornado. So Ben will be key for us over the next few days to really try to identify some students for us. We're wanting our teachers to come back on Tuesday for a lot of different reasons. First, they're going to be displaced, almost, probably 80% of our staff will be displaced. They're going to have to come back and they're going to have to get acclimated. One of the things that, I know Dr. Bates has talked about this, they're just going to be in a whole different area, and it's going to take them a while to get their feet on the ground. In fact, we've had some, as they've come up to get some of their personal belongings, they've become very emotional. Well, it's kind of their home away from home. So it's going to take some time for them to just get back into it and to kind of get through the shock of all of it. So on Tuesday, they'll come back. We'll help them get acclimated, kind of show them where they're going to be. And then they will be doing some planning. They'll be moving into classrooms. They'll be planning. They may not have, they won't have Promethean boards. They may not have overhead projectors. They may not have what they're used to having. So they're going to have to sit down and plan. If it means making copies of worksheets or copies of books, they're going to have to plan that. So that's why we want them to come back, at least a couple of days before the students. They're going to have to get acclimated and start planning. We're going to have, like, our algebra, because of where they're going to be, those teachers are going to team teach. So they have to sit down and they have to plan that. And we're going to, instead of having 25 kids in a room, now they're going to have 57 in a room, and they're going to have to figure out how to go teach that together. So there will be a lot of planning that will take place on Tuesday, and just a lot of logistics for them to get a classroom set up. Dr. Bates shows you how we're going to use the gymnasiums, and there are going to be classrooms in there. They're just going to have very little space to put things on the wall, to do a whole lot with. So it's going to take some time for them to think through that and get through that. For our students, we want our students to return on Thursday. That's probably a best case scenario. If not, at the very least, we really want them here on Friday, but we're going to shoot for Thursday. But what we're going to do with them is we're going to bring them back. They will ride the bus in the morning at 8 and get here about 8:30 like they normally do. We're only going to have them here for about 4 hours. What they're going to do, they will meet in the gym, in the competition gym. Admin will go over, just have long conversation with them about what the day is going to look like, where they need to go, how things have been rearranged for them. One thing that Dr. Bates said was our campus is very big, but we're going to take it, we're going to shrink it down to about a third of the size that it is for them. So that's going to be an issue. It'll be interesting to see something that Ms. Mann and I talked about the other day. Our seniors are really, this is going to be their legacy for them. You know, they're gonna have to be the leaders through this. And so there's gonna be some of those conversations with them. But anyway, what we'll do with them when they come back on Thursday or whenever it is that they come back, they'll meet in the gym, they'll talk, they'll figure out their schedule, they'll get their schedule, figure out where to go, and then they're gonna walk their schedule. You know, they may only go to a class and be there for about 5 minutes, but we're taking the 800 wing and we're gonna put about 1,000 kids in it at one time. So we have to figure out how they can travel in those hallways, how they travel across campus. And so that's kind of what we're going to do with them on that first day, is just let them go to their classes. So first of all, they know where they're at, because they're going to be lost. And then we're going to have to figure out travel patterns and see what issues there are with them being on the campus in such a small area. So we'll have them here about 4 hours. We'll feed them lunch. And then we're going to send them home. Our plan is to send them back at 12:30. So that first day, there will be no instruction. It's simply trying to get them acclimated. You know, this is their home away from home as well, and they're going to come back and they're going to see some things. They're going to see, it's going to shock them whenever they walk around and see some things. You know, they've seen pictures. You know, I told my wife, you can look at that picture of the building that's there, where it hit by the football field, and until you walk up and look at it, the pictures don't do it justice. I mean, and I think some of the kids are going to go through some of that shock. So we're going to give them a day to just get them acclimated, and then we'll hit the ground running with them when they come back that following day. So it'll be interesting. But that first day, they're just going to be here about 4 hours, and there will be no instruction taking place that day.
Just one more slide. So this is actually a picture that I took yesterday, and the American flag is flying. It's hanging in there, and the staff will be fine. It's going to be tough. This is a very resilient staff. I've had the opportunity to work with many of them, and we'll figure out how to make it work. So it's not going to be easy. You know, again, it's not the learning conditions we would want for our kids, but it's better than them not being in school for 3 or 4 weeks while we're waiting on the repairs to 100 and 100. So with that, do you have any questions for us?
I think this is probably they're gonna probably learn more through this ordeal than probably they would have the whole week of school.
Yeah.
So it's just,
Good life experiences.
That's right.
That's right. And not academic, but life.
And I would like to add one thing. Even though from the outside it really looks bad, had this happened when school was in, looking at our tornado drill maps, everywhere we would have had students sitting is still standing. They may have had the ceiling tile, they may have been wet, they may have had a little flying debris, but everywhere in the hallway, it's still standing.
Even on the worst area, the area facing the football field, when you're standing there looking at that, you would think probably half of that hallway. But it isn't. It's the classrooms are missing, but the hallway wall, which is the wall to the classroom, is completely intact. Completely intact. There is not even any debris on the floor in that area.
there's still balloons hanging, there's still all the stuff on the wall, the paper stuff, and, that's all
I had some
still
of those
hanging.
pictures. I wanted to show y'all those to you, but I couldn't get them all loaded. Yeah, that's a great example. That's when we knew, okay, so it wasn't like this big section, because if it had been, those balloons wouldn't still be taped up to the wall. So it was the shift in the structure that caused the wall to pop out. Anything that you feel like maybe we haven't thought of?
The only thing I'll add is don't be afraid to change. I mean, if you say we're gonna do this, this, and this, and then that's not gonna happen, don't be afraid to say, hey, that's not gonna happen, we're gonna do this. You know, people, you know, we're talking about Thursday, if it's Friday, it's Friday. You know, this is
Right.
a forever liquid thing, and it's always changing. So don't be afraid to adjust your plan
Yes.
as situations.
Yeah.
So,
I think the acclimation days is a great idea. Yeah, it needs to.
Yes.
I mean, I don't think
I think
parents are
that's
gonna like
gonna be-
it, but they're gonna have to work.
Well, the
with
good
it.
news is, here's the deal. Remember, these are high school kids. And so half of them drive.
You're right.
And the other half we're gonna provide bus transportation. And that's why it's 12:30, because that gives the buses time to take high school kids home and be back in time to pick up elementary kids to take them home. So hopefully, it really shouldn't inconvenience high school parents, other than they may not know what their kids are doing at 12:30.
Yeah.
But they've had that worry all week long, so. Yeah.
Extracurricular sports and stuff like that.
Really, the things that we've had to cancel so far is, we are gonna have to cancel the big Veterans Day event. I reached out to Colonel Rachel on that. The problem is, we were gonna have it on the football field. Well, we actually are waiting for approval, on the football field, because some of the lights, poles look like there might be some damage. And so we can't use the football field. We had come up with an alternate bad weather plan for that day, not for tornadoes, to use the competition gym. But the problem is, we could be using the competition gym. Hopefully we won't, but we might have to do that. And then the other thing was, a big part of that Veterans Day celebration is before the ceremony, having the veterans come in. Well, we do that in the library. Well, we can't do that in the library anymore. Now, we are still going to try and honor, we will for sure honor our veterans, the ROTC Cadet Corral, and the National Honor Society and Student Council reps will still go to the Veterans Home and participate in those celebrations. And part of the ceremony this year, what we had planned to do, instead of having a guest speaker come and speak to the students, was every campus, elementaries, both elementaries, middle school, and high school, had basically an essay contest. And so I've talked to Ms. Kathy today, and what she's going to do is, and I've talked to the principals, so I said, move forward with your contest, choose your winners, and Ms. Kathy is going to go and film everybody reading their essay, and then we'll be able to show that to every campus, except for possibly high school, and we'll have to work on how they might see that. I think we might put it on YouTube though too. So we'll still be able to recognize our veterans in that way. As far as extracurricular activities, I spoke to Coach Luna about 5 minutes before coming in here, and we had talked about canceling the Jaguar Classic because that requires both competition gyms. But Lavernia has reached out and said that they would be willing to host a few, which sometimes that happens in bigger districts when you go to a tournament, you might have to go to different locations. And so we haven't officially canceled that yet. If that doesn't work, then we will. But we want to be able to do that with enough notice. We had agreed to host a playoff game, a football playoff game, and Coach Luna notified them today that we would not be able to host that event. As far as regular scheduled games, depending on how long we're in this situation with the practice gyms, because what usually happens is at 5 freshman play and JV play, and then varsity plays at 6:30. So we don't have both, we don't have the competition gyms anymore to do that. If the middle school schedule allows, the freshman or JV team could go play at our middle school. If not, we could just scoot the times back and have a 5 o'clock game, a 6:30 game, and an 8:30 game, something like that. So we'll have to make some adjustments along the way. Also for the varsity basketball teams, which they're beginning practice this week, they know that they are going to be able to use the Lawhorn gym and even this gym across the street here. They'll be able to use that one for practice, and they can use elementary gyms before and after school. And so again, it's not the best situation, but we still do have options for them to be able to practice. Any other questions? Well, I will just say this is a great community. I mean, HEB has brought breakfast platters and lunch platters, and you know, Mr. Muth and Mr. Orth came and volunteered. I mean, so many people, I can't even name them all. Districts have reached out and offered assistance, so it's nice.
Yeah, we had people from Karnes County come and brought us food and water, and
Yeah.
some of the local churches.
Actually, this morning, I mean, there's not anybody out there, but there's a table out there, and someone's just put like bottled water, and just for anybody who's still there cleaning up. So any other?
Thank you guys on brain overload. I know that you've put in a lot of long, hard hours.
Well, we have. And this is a great team to work with right here too, I have to say.
Your cabinet is.
Yeah, they've been great.
And, we thank you for that.
You're welcome. We're glad
And
to
if
do
there's
it.
anything that the board can do to help you guys, just let us know.
We will do that. All right, thank you.
Okay, item number 4 is to consider approval of declaration of emergency.
I move to accept the district. Oh, I'm sorry. I think you said you read it. Oh,
You good, you're all ready?
I thought I was.
Anyway, of course, October 30th, we did suffer severe damage from a tornado. And so our board policy allows us to declare a state of emergency. Both the county and the city have declared a state of disaster. And so what this does is for the, I think we're asking for it through this coming Friday, the 6th. This allows us to quickly sign contracts, get things moving without having to have board approval as our policy requires. It also allows us to compensate our employees that have worked overtime and that kind of stuff. So, no questions. We recommend that the administration approve the declaration of emergency as
Board, do you have any questions for Mr. Atkins?
Is this a pretty blanket deal? I mean, you're just gonna, I mean, if there's anything else that you need from us?
This will be only through Friday. If we need to extend it, we would have to come back.
Yeah.
But after that, I think
But
we'll be able
why,
to.
why did you pick Friday? Why didn't you pick till the next board meeting?
Because I think by Friday, most of the emergency contracts should be done or in
I got
place.
you, I got you.
We're just doing repairs right now, we're not.
Just repairs.
We're not really even doing repairs, we're getting us back to class.
Right.
What else?
The major contracts can be with your law.
Yeah.
And we don't even know what that's going to eventually cost.
Right. All right, Madam President, I move to accept administration as recommendation.
I'll second, Madam President.
Motion was made by Mr. Beckford, second by Mr. Yates. All those in favor? 7-0. Motion carries. Thank you. Dr. Bates, do we need a motion? No. There's no need to go into executive session. The time now is 6:53, and this emergency board meeting is now adjourned.